My mom commented under the picture of my 3-day-old son. "This child is a mistake." When I confronted her, she yelled, "Your son should never have been born." 2 days later, they came over acting like they wanted to apologize. What my in-laws did next made my parents go pale as they panicked and started screaming. Hey, Reddit! When I shared the first photo of my newborn, I anticipated rude strangers, maybe some old classmates, even jealous acquaintances. But I never expected my own mother to comment. Not a word of congratulations. Not a "he's beautiful." Not a "welcome to the world." No. Under the image of my sleeping baby, she wrote, "This child is a mistake." At first, I thought it was a hacked account, a prank, or a glitch. But the likes and replies showed me it was real. My hands trembled as I stared at her comment, reading it repeatedly until the words nearly blurred. A mistake. My baby. My son. I deleted the comment, but the hurt was already there. The sting, the humiliation, the cold punch in my chest. I told my husband, and he immediately said, "You need to confront her in person." So, I drove to my parents' house, still sore from childbirth, running on just 2 hours of sleep, still emotional and fragile but determined. When she opened the door, she didn't greet me, didn't hug me, didn't even ask about the baby. She just crossed her arms. "What do you want?" I swallowed hard. "You commented under my son's photo." "Good," she snapped. Because it needed to be said. My stomach twisted. "What is wrong with you?" I whispered. "He's 3 days old." "He never should have been born," she screamed suddenly, her voice slicing through the hallway like a whip. "You weren't ready. You ruined your life. And now you're ruining ours, too." I froze. "Ours?" She continued. "You think having a baby makes you special. You think it fixes everything." She scoffed, her eyes ablaze. "Your son is a burden and, yes, a mistake." My breath left my body. I stepped back, feeling dizzy, as if the floor was tilting. My own mother looked me dead in the eyes and said, "My child shouldn't exist." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't beg her to take it back. I simply said, "You will never speak to me or my son again." I turned around and left. That night, I blocked her everywhere. Phone, social media, email, and I cried. Not because of her words, but for the mother I had once hoped she could be. But 2 days later, she showed up. Not just her, but my dad and my sister too. They all stood on my porch holding store-bought cookies and a gift bag, forcing fake smiles. My husband answered the door. Mom pushed past him, pretending to be cheerful. "We came to apologize. Where's the baby?" Her voice was overly sweet. She wanted access, not forgiveness. I stepped into the room, holding my son against my chest. "You need to leave," I said quietly. My mother gasped dramatically. "What? After we came all this way to apologize?" "You didn't apologize," I replied. "You barged in." My father stepped forward. "Don't be dramatic. We're family." My sister rolled her eyes. "We can't pretend your kid isn't complicated." But Mom didn't mean it. My husband tensed. "Complicated? He's 3 days old." Mom sighed like we were exhausting her. "You're blowing this out of proportion. Let us see him." I shook my head. "You're not welcome here." That's when the screaming started. My mother lunged forward. "Give me the baby." I stepped back instantly. My dad grabbed my arm. My sister shouted, "Stop being selfish." Everything happened so fast. Shouting, grabbing, accusations. My baby began to cry in my arms, and that's when the front door flew open. Bang. Everyone turned. My in-laws stood in the doorway, and they did not look calm. My mother-in-law stepped forward, her voice steady. "Take your hands off our daughter." My father let go immediately. My parents looked stunned, as if they didn't expect anyone to defend me. But my mother-in-law wasn't finished. "You think you can barge into her home, insult her, scream in front of her newborn, and demand access to a child you called a mistake?" My mom sputtered. "That's not what happened." My father-in-law stepped up beside his wife. "We heard everything." He held up his phone. "We recorded the last 2 minutes. The law calls this harassment and attempted forced entry." My parents went pale. My sister's mouth fell open. My mother clutched her chest. "You can't do that." "We already did," my father-in-law said coldly. "And we're prepared to file charges." My mother's face twisted. "You wouldn't dare." "Oh, My mother-in-law said, stepping closer, her eyes blazing. You have no idea what we would dare to do to protect our grandchild. My mom tried to switch to guilt. Sweetheart, she said to me, her voice trembling. We just want to be part of his life. You told me he should never have been born, I replied. Her mask cracked. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. My in-laws stepped closer, forming a protective wall around me and the baby. You need to leave, my husband said firmly. Now, my father muttered. This isn't over, my mother-in-law replied instantly. Oh, it is. And if you return uninvited, we will consider it trespassing. My parents exchanged glances. My sister panicked. We didn't mean anything. You can't cut us out. My baby started crying again. I held him close and said the calmest words I'd ever spoken. You already cut yourselves out. My parents froze. My sister covered her mouth. My in-laws held their ground. And slowly, with pale faces and trembling anger, my parents backed out the door. My mother hissed, You'll regret this. I looked her in the eyes. No, I said softly. I'll heal from this. The door closed, and for the first time since giving birth, I finally felt safe. 3 months have passed since my parents stormed into my home, demanding access to my newborn son, and my in-laws walked in and shut them down so hard that their faces turned white. I thought after that confrontation things might calm down, but I was wrong. What happened afterward showed just how far my parents were willing to go and how far I needed to go to protect my child. After my parents left that day, my mother-in-law didn't waste a moment. She called her attorney friend, documented everything, and insisted that my husband and I file for a restraining order before they tried anything desperate. I hesitated at first because no matter how vicious my mother was, she was still my mother. But then I remembered her screaming, Your son should never have been born. And the hesitation disappeared. We filed the papers the next morning. When my parents were served, they lost it. My mother left me 14 voicemails. How dare you do this? We're your parents. You're choosing them over us. You ungrateful child. Every message made it clear. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't reflecting. She wasn't changing. She was angry because she lost control. Eventually, I stopped answering, stopped listening, stopped checking the messages. But my parents weren't done. 2 weeks later, something happened that made my blood run cold. My sister messaged me privately. Mom said she might call CPS on you. My heart nearly stopped. I immediately told my husband and my in-laws. My mother-in-law placed her hand on mine. Sweetheart, let her try. I blinked. What? She smiled, but not a kind smile, a dangerous one. Your mother doesn't know who she's dealing with. I frowned. What do you mean? She looked me directly in the eyes. My brother is a senior investigator for CPS. He has been for 18 years. My jaw dropped. She continued. He already knows about the situation. He knows about your mother's behavior. If she makes a single false report, she will be charged with filing malicious claims and will go to court. I took a breath, but my parents didn't know any of this. So the next day, they tried something even more outrageous. They showed up at my in-laws' house. Not mine, my in-laws. My mother-in-law called us immediately. You might want to come here, she said calmly. Your parents are in the driveway, screaming. We drove over, and what we saw was shocking. My father was red-faced, yelling at my father-in-law. My mother was banging on their front door, shouting, We have a right to see our grandson. You can't keep him from us. We'll take him if we have to. My stomach twisted in horror. My in-laws stood perfectly still, like statues guarding a fortress. This is not your home, my father-in-law said firmly. Get off our property. But my mother kept screaming, trying to push past him. My father tried to follow, and then a black sedan pulled up. Someone stepped out wearing a badge. My sister's warning echoed in my mind. Oh no! Please no! Did they actually call CPS? The man walked toward us. My parents straightened, pretending to look innocent and fragile. My mother whispered, See, this is what happens when you treat us badly. They'll take the baby away now. But the man walked right past them, straight to me, and smiled warmly. You must be mother's name. I'm Daniel. Your in-laws told me everything. My parents froze. Daniel continued, I'm with Child Protective Services. I'm also your husband's uncle. My mother's face drained of color. But we called you, she stammered. Daniel raised his hand. And I reviewed your report. My father's eyes widened. My report. Daniel pulled out a file. It was empty. No evidence, no concern, no grounds, just anger. He turned sharply to them. Filing false reports against your own daughter, especially while she's recovering from childbirth, is a crime. My mother tried to stutter out an excuse. We just wanted to check on the baby. No, Daniel said coldly. You wanted to punish her, and now you've documented that intent in writing. My parents were speechless. My sister backed away slowly, as if she didn't want to be associated with any of it. Daniel handed me another paper. Since they violated the restraining order and attempted a malicious CPS claim, you have grounds for full no-contact enforcement. My mother gasped, You can't do that to us. My mother-in-law stepped beside me. She didn't. You did. My mother-in-law looked like a queen defending her castle. My father-in-law stood like a wall of stone, and I stood there holding my son, realizing something. My parents didn't want to be grandparents. They wanted leverage, control, and power. And when they lost it, they unraveled. Daniel looked at me kindly. You're doing everything right, he said. Your son is safe. You're safe. Let us handle the rest. My parents tried to argue, shout and twist the story, but it was too late. The law wasn't on their side anymore. Truth wasn't on their side. Nothing was. As the officers escorted them off the property, my mother screamed, You'll regret this. But her voice didn't shake me anymore. I looked down at my son sleeping against my shoulder, tiny, warm, and innocent, and I whispered, No, I won't. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of my mother. I wasn't scared of disappointing her. I wasn't scared of losing her approval. I wasn't scared of her at all. I had my son, my husband, my in-laws, a new family that actually protected me. And I finally understood something. Sometimes the family you're born into is poison. But the family you choose, that's where healing begins.